Josh Hunter here, got Beast Wrestling Reviews, here to do that NXT Takeover Brooklyn review. It is a couple of days late. The reason is I had somewhere to be Saturday, so I didn't watch the pay-per-view till Sunday morning, and then SummerSlam was that Sunday night. So what I'm going to do is, since there were so many unanswered questions in terms of storylines and all that on SummerSlam, I think I'll just combine SummerSlam and the Raw review tonight, and then upload that on Tuesday. And then that'll be probably an hour review combining SummerSlam, talk about the matches, all the unanswered questions, and combine that with hopefully some things being answered on Raw tonight, and then upload that tomorrow, or even tonight. I'll probably try and upload that tonight, and then uploading this NXT Takeover Brooklyn review today. And so obviously a lot of people, I mean, this was probably better than SummerSlam in terms of wrestling. I mean, and it's been like that for a while. I mean, ever since the whole NXT Takeover pay-per-view started, ever since WWE started snatching up guys like Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Neville, I mean, and then bringing in a couple of older guys who, you know, been in business a while. I mean, the Takeover pay-per-views have just been awesome, and it's also just because of that form. I mean, obviously due to the talent. It's like, I mean, it's mainly due to them, but also just because, I mean, the formula is kind of different. I mean, there's no promo at the beginning. There's no nothing. We just kickstart off with the match and get people hype. And the wrestling, I think, was just all around better. And that's just all there is to it. They had the better wrestling matches at NXT Takeover. And going in order, you know, got my notes right here. The first match was Tyler Breeze versus Jushin Thunder Liger, and I was actually surprised that that was the first match. I wasn't, you know, upset or anything. It wasn't a bad thing. That was the first match. I was just surprised because, you know, you hear all this hype about who Jushin Thunder Liger is, and you hear all this match about who Jushin Thunder Liger is, and, you know, what he's done in the past WCW. He's, you know, built up his legacy in Japan, but he's never been in WWE, kind of going along the same lines as Sting. You know, had this legendary career, but never went into the WWE. And so I was kind of surprised that, like, that was the opening match, but in a way it kind of made it perfect because, you know, you got a good match, you got a good anticipated match right off the bat, so now you're like, now by the end of this match you're hyped, you're excited. Whether it was good or it was bad, it was just the fact that it was Jushin Thunder Liger in the ring, wrestling his first time in WWE versus Tyler Breeze, who is a very talented dude. You know, kick-starting the match, it makes you wonder, like, wow, okay, this is about to be a good pay-per-view. And it wasn't that long of a match. I mean, it was a good match for what it was, actually, but it wasn't that long. I didn't really expect it to be, like, the longest match. Once you know, obviously saw that it was the opening match, definitely didn't see it being that long. But definitely liked because I've never really seen. I watched a couple of matches because, I mean, once the announcement was made that it would be Tyler Breeze versus Thunder Liger, I never heard of Jushin Thunder Liger, which is surprising because I do watch. I'll go on YouTube and I'll watch, you know, some Japanese wrestling, but I've never heard of Jushin Thunder Liger. I may have seen one of his matches and just not known it was him. But as far as his name goes, I've never, like, heard of him. So before this match, I did go on YouTube, watch a few of his matches just to see what was up. And in this match specifically with Tyler Breeze, I definitely liked the, you know, mocking of Tyler Breeze, you know, that confidence and a little bit of comedy, you know, which we definitely see, you know, in the Japanese culture, you know, getting Tyler Breeze selfie stick, leaning up on the corner like Tyler Breeze does. All that was pretty awesome, and it was actually a pretty good match. Both of them got some offense in. I really don't have much to complain this match, as maybe only bad part, not really, it wasn't even that bad, but the only part that I would, have to maybe criticize is just as a fan, wish it was a little longer, just because you hyped this match. And they didn't even really hype it because it wasn't even announced till maybe a couple weeks. What, Dad? What happened? Okay, let's stop it. Okay. But yeah, Juice and Thunder Liger wins. The only complaint I would have is maybe liked it to be a little longer, just because we haven't. I mean, this was this guy's first match. Haven't seen much of him in the WWE. Maybe see a little bit more of him, which we don't know their future plans, what they're going to do with Juice and Thunder Liger. For all we know, he may be on NXT programming on WWE Network for the next couple of weeks doing some good matches, or he may be at the next Takeover pay-per-view. Who knows? Or maybe Tyler Breeze will have another rematch because he's pissed off or something. So we'll get that answered on Wednesday on the NXT pay-per-view. But I really have no complaints with this match. Really, throughout this entire pay-per-view, the NXT Takeover pay-per-view, I really don't have many complaints. I mean, I think this pay-per-view played out perfectly, like as it needed to, as far as the matches go, and as far as the storylines and everything going into it. I think it played out as it needed to, leading into the future. Some people would be mad at how things played out as in the moment, but you got to kind of think about sometimes where would this story and this superstar lead into the future, and you also got to realize this still is NXT. They're eventually going to go into the main roster, so you also got to just put all that together. And I think this pay-per-view was perfect, and it leading in it just played in all the stories and the way they did, and it has led into what's going to be in the future perfectly. So I really don't have any complaints as far as matches or really anything goes, but there were a few things I could have, gone without. Obviously, with any pay-per-view, it's not going to be perfect, but I think it played out perfectly, if that makes any sense. The next match after that was the Von Dillons versus Blake and Murphy. It was a really good match, actually. I like the way it was layered, A lot of times, tag team matches, they won't get that much time, or they'll be, put in a scenario where it's like an elimination tag, or it's like a four-way tag team match, which we would see at SummerSlam. So you having to rush certain spots so that everybody can get their thing in, or it's just you don't have, or it would be a regular tag match, but you got 8 minutes, so you got to rush everything. But this match, was really layered. It wasn't that long of a match either, but I think it was 10 to 11 minutes, but it was really layered. The high spots were not so close together, so you could come down off the last one so that when they hit the next one, you were like, holy crap. And I really like this. Like I said, I think this was a really good layered tag match. We definitely saw a lot of Blake and Murphy, what they could do in terms of a pay-per-view match, and trying to get that crowd hyped up, even though they're the heels. They still we're starting to see that a lot. Even though the heels are heels, they will still get cheered if they produce good wrestling matches, which I think that's the sort of the era of wrestling that we live in. No matter if you're a babyface or heel, if you produce a good wrestling match, at the end of the day, you're going to get cheered. I mean, at SummerSlam, Seth Rollins he's the top heel, right? But he gets cheered when he does crazy stuff, or when he produces a good match. Same thing with Kevin Owens, they'll boo him, but as soon as he produces an amazing match, he's you'd think he's the biggest babyface in the freaking company, because that's how much you would cheer him when people produce good matches. But And the Vaughn Dillons, bringing out Blue Pants, obviously, to deal with the whole Alexa Bliss thing, which obviously played out and towards the end. Blue Pants, solved that little Alexa Bliss problem, and then leading to the Vaughn Dillons getting the victory over Blake and Murphy. And then, so obviously kind of curious as to, because you always gotta wonder with this being NXT, when somebody drops the title, obviously they'll probably Blake and Murphy will have a rematch with them, but you also gotta wonder, like, when somebody drops the title, does that mean they're going up to the main roster, or was it just a simple, exchange of the titles, and that there's nothing more to it? But with it being NXT, you're always going to have that question, oh, they dropped the title, there's probably a possibility that they're going up to the main roster, because Blake and Murphy have been producing some pretty good matches. The tag team division is hurt right now on the main roster. We got the Lucha Dragons up there, and then Lucha Dragons and New Day on the main roster, really the only tag teams that are like going in right now. And with Cesaro and Tyson Kidd, and Cesaro's, obviously doing this thing on his own, which I'm a big fan of, but like ever since they've split up and it's been like New Day and then Lucha Dragons came up, those are like the only two kind of over tag teams as far as a tag team can cruise. The debut of Apollo Crews, then I did actually do some research on him too as well, because I'm not like big on the independent scene. Like, I will go and watch matches for some independent wrestling just because I love wrestling in general, but like never really came across an Apollo Crews match. Yuha Nation, I think was his name, and I watched a couple of his matches, saw his moveset, saw him kind of cut a couple of promos there. I didn't catch too much video footage on him, but because with Apollo Crews, like, it'd be different because like he's making his debut on NXT, so like I don't want to go and watch tons and tons of footage of this guy and then it like totally spoil like the debut of this guy that is supposed to be so good, right? So like I didn't want to go watch all this footage on him and then not be surprised by whatever he does on his debut. But I did watch, a little bit just so I can get a feel of what the guy brings to the table, as far as like, is he a brawler? Is he a striker? Is he a hot, or is he on some Brock Lesnar type stuff where he just does everything even though he's huge? But so the Ty Dillinger match versus Apollo Crews. Obviously Apollo Crews making his debut. You already know he's going over. It's that crowd though. Let's talk about that crowd. Not just with Apollo Crews, but like almost with everybody. Like that crowd was just hype as hell, cheering for everyone. Like, I mean, obviously there were some boos, but I mean they were, chanting for, like every match I think was good enough to get the acceptance from that crowd, and they were getting real hyped and getting real excited, to get further. Like they were just ready to go from one match to another because every match was good, and that crowd. And like as a fan, when you're watching at home and then you hear the crowd getting excited, you kind of get excited because like, I don't know, it's like you like feed off their excitement because of whatever's going on in the ring. But this was obviously a really short match. They actually exchanged some offense. It wasn't one of those debuts where Apollo Crews, just came in and just wiped the floor with Ty Dillinger and like got no offense, but like no, like there was some offense exchanged, but short match. Apollo Crews showing off that athleticism. I don't even know what I just said. Athleticism, and then doing that cartwheel, like handspring, whatever you want to call that. And then Cena do that, and then going to the gorilla press. Obviously showing off that power as well. And then the standing moonsault, or she can also call it a shooting star press, but I think it was a moonsault. And as the finish, and then Apollo Crews wins. Really not much to talk about that match, but I think it definitely got you. I think Apollo Crews did enough to make you want to see more. Further down his career, further down in NXT. pretty sure he's going to be on Wednesday on NXT, you know, debuting at Takeover. I don't see why he wouldn't. But, yeah, definitely, it got me curious as to see, like, how he's being booked, who he's going to go up against, and leading up until the next Takeover, wherever that shall be, which we would find out would be in the NXT Takeover in UK. Definitely curious as to see how they book him in there. Then we have Samoa Joe versus Baron Corbin. Samoa Joe, though, with those submissions, like, just like going from one submission to another without like getting up and then going into, you know, and just transitioning. He was just transitioning from one submission to another without letting Baron Corbin get to the ropes. This stuff like that was really awesome. Seeing, you know, Samoa Joe transitioning between those submissions. And with Baron Corbin, I've always wondered, like, is he able to freaking, you know, do long matches? Like, is the reason they're putting him in these, like, 5-second matches is because he can't do long matches? But, I'm still wondering that, like, I don't think this match proved to me, anyway, as a fan of wrestling, I don't think this match really proved that he can go long matches, but I think it proved that, when I say long matches, obviously I'm talking about like 20, 25 minutes. This match wasn't that long, but I think he proved that, I mean, he can keep you somewhat hooked depending on who he's working with. I think he can perform, you know, 10, 15-minute matches, but I am curious as to where somewhere down the line if we can see this dude like Baron Corbin, and I'm still iffy, you know, like on his promos. Like, I'm really not a big fan of Baron Corbin on the mic, but like, I would like to see Baron Corbin like a 20, 25-minute match, just purely out of curiosity, because they put him in these like 5-second matches. Can he do a 20, 25-minute match? Because at the end of the day, once you get to a certain amount, like once you gain a certain amount of popularity, that's what the crowd is going to want to see out of you anyway. Like, if this, for argument's sake, Baron Corbin like one day became the NXT champion, they're going to want to, the crowd is going to want to see a 25-minute match out of you. But if you can't perform that, then, you know, like, they're going to instantly like not be interested in you. And that's what I'm saying. Like, he may be he may be able to perform that 25-minute match. We just haven't seen him do it yet. He hasn't had the opportunity. So, like, this is just pure curiosity. But it was actually a pretty good match. Samoa Joe wins, and with a choking him out. But I actually thought Baron Corbin kind of like woke up from it a little too early. It was literally like 5 seconds after, you know, the match ended that Baron Corbin woke up from it. That was the only problem I had, because, you know, like, just got choked out by Samoa Joe, and you wake up like 5 seconds later. You know, I really don't know about that, but that's really not even a complaint. It was just kind of a, like, you know, why did he get up so early? But yeah, Samoa Joe goes over, and wondering if that little rivalry would continue. Just really started, so I'm guessing so. There's really not much more people that Samoa Joe can work with on NXT, and I'm curious to see how much they push that. But also, then again, with those transitions between the submissions, during that one part of the match, from like the crossface to like the arm bar to like surf, I don't even know what he was doing, to like just not letting Baron get to the ropes, but doing those transitionings while keeping them in the submission was awesome. Then, to me, and obviously it lit up Twitter, and rightfully so, to me, the match of the night, yes, even better than Finn Balor versus Kevin Owens in the ladder match, Sasha Banks versus Bayley in one of the main events. You know, they, you know, promoted this as a double main event, you know, Sasha Banks versus why everybody likes Sasha Banks and likes Bayley and Becky and Charlotte, since they can go out there and perform these long matches and layer them out so well. They can do the chain grappling and all that stuff, but their high spots were not so close together to where, you know, it was like overwhelming or too much. Like, it was it was a perfect layered out match, definitely a perfect way for Sasha Banks to, you know, leave NXT and fully be on the main roster, and obviously Bayley wins. dropping the title to Bayley, and then seeing the 4 horsewomen in that ring, like one of those moments where you like, break character, Sasha breaks character, hugging Bayley, and Charlotte and Becky come out there too and celebrate, and they're throwing up the 4 for the 4 horsewomen. That was just like one of those moments that they're probably gonna replay like 10 years from now when they're like veterans in the game, like 6-time Divas champions or whatever. But definitely cool to see Bayley. I mean, we all knew Bayley was gonna get the title. Sasha's doing her thing on the main roster now. Sasha drops the title to Bayley. Bayley's the only one not on the main roster. Bayley's now gonna lead that main roster on NXT. Lead that roster as the women's champion. Curious to see as to now who she goes up against as the NXT Women's Champion. We've seen her go up against Emma, seen her go up against a couple of other people. But it's like I said before, without Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha there, and it's just Bayley, it's kind of weird, with the NXT Women's division. But definitely got curiosity going, like as to where that division will go with three of the best girls now going on the main roster. But definitely match of the night. I mean I could talk about it. Like Sasha Banks, jumping over the referee over the ropes, going after that broken hand, wrestling smart, and then Bayley selling the hand, and then Bayley going in stealing Sasha's finisher. Like, obviously, I don't really have anything. I don't think there's one thing I can complain about this match. To me, it was all good. Like, it was, like I said, it was the match of the night. So many great things in that match. It was a long match, and it showed you that Sasha and Bayley can go out there, perform as a women's wrestler, and long match. I don't know how long the match was, but it was long enough, and it was amazing all the way through. Bayley gets the win, gets the title, and like I said, the ending with the 4 horsewomen couldn't have made it even. I mean, just made it that much more better. Then the main event was Finn Balor versus Kevin Owens, and it was the ladder match. Obviously, with Kevin Owens now too on the main roster, I'm surprised he's still doing this much with NXT. With him being on the main roster, obviously this was probably his last match on NXT as well. But it was a ladder match, NXT title, Finn Balor versus Kevin Owens. We all knew Finn Balor was going to go over with Kevin Owens being on the main roster. And that's kind of another thing I want to talk about. Like, it's so awesome how, like these guys can still keep you entertained in a wrestling match, even though you know that who's going to win. Like, we all knew Bayley was going to win. We all knew Finn Balor was going to win. But they were still, like, awesome matches. The crowd was going crazy. It blew up Twitter and everything. It got more attention than SummerSlam did. And we all knew he was going to win those matches, but just for the sole fact that those guys were on the main roster now. So it's crazy how, like, it almost shows you, like, how good those guys are, that they can go out there and perform good matches and keep you entertained, even though you know the outcome. And that to me, just right there tells you how good the guys are, how you knew that Sasha was going to drop the title to Bayley. You knew Finn Balor was going to win the ladder match, but they were still amazing matches. Now, what I specifically liked about this ladder match, I still think, obviously, Sasha Banks versus Bayley was the match of the night. But, and I actually think that match was longer than the Finn Balor versus Kevin Owens ladder match. But what I liked about this ladder match is they didn't overuse the ladder match. I mean, the ladder. It seems like nowadays when we have a ladder match, it's just like everything has to be with the ladder. Like, just to punch somebody, we have to, instead of just throwing a simple punch, we have to throw a ladder at somebody. Or instead of, doing a normal super kick, we got to throw the ladder at the guy, have him catch it, and then super kick them when the ladder's in their face. Like, they didn't overuse the ladders. They still had a wrestling match, but then still eventually included the ladders within the match, and that's what I like. They didn't overuse the ladders, everything wasn't about the ladders, but it was still a ladder match. The ladders were still involved, and it was all around layered match. It wasn't, and then also, like Kevin Owens, you know, talking some trash and all that stuff. The way, like, the thing I love though, when Finn Balor was making his entrance, and then when Finn Balor would get in the ring, and then you see the camera goes on Kevin Owens, and he's just sitting there, like with a smug look on his face, sitting in the commentator's chair, like not impressed, looking like he's not impressed at all with Finn Balor. That was like, just that face alone, you know, like, man, really, all this entrance, like this long ass entrance, like this Kevin Owens not impressed at all. That was like pretty awesome, and like just, I don't know, maybe it was just me, but it got me hyped, even more hype at that last second to see the match, because, you know, like, you get all that attention around Finn Balor, you know, the demon comes out at special occasions like the pay-per-view and all that, and then Kevin Owens is sitting there in a commentator's chair at ringside, you know, just like, are you done yet? And then but then obviously the match, Finn Balor going off the top of the ladder, hitting that double stomp to Kevin Owens, and then climbing the ladder, getting that NXT title. So Finn Balor goes over, and that was the end of the pay-per-view. It actually went, even though it was 2 hours instead of 1 hour, it still felt like 1 hour. Like, the match, like, all the, like, it just went by quick, and I think it was because it was so great. We were so entertained the entire time. Nothing was boring. There was no match that you wanted to go take a pee break on or anything. It was all entertaining from start to finish, so it just felt like it was 30 minutes, but it was 2 hours. And like I said, Bayley versus Sasha was probably match of the night in my opinion. And overall, I would probably give this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I think that's fair, because I never want to call any pay-per-view, you know, like perfect or anything, but this is probably the best pay-per-view we've seen in a long time. Better than any other takeover, and probably better than most pay-per-views on the main roster that we've seen in a while. So this is definitely got you hype. Josh Hunter here at Beast Wrestling Reviews. I'm going to be doing that Raw, and I'm going to be mixing up my SummerSlam and Raw review tonight, just because I felt like there were so many. I didn't get to watch SummerSlam when I wanted to, and I had to catch up on the NXT thing, because that's something to do. And because once I watched SummerSlam anyway, there were so many unanswered, you know, things, and there were so many questions left unanswered, that I felt like once I watched Raw, and then like combine what we get off Raw with SummerSlam, it'll make for a better review anyway. So that'll probably either go up tonight, but if not tonight, it'll definitely be up by tomorrow. And I do SmackDown, NXT, and all pay-per-view reviews here at Beast Wrestling Reviews. My name is Josh Hunter. Please like and subscribe and share with all your wrestling friends, and see you next time.